Ah,
there you go.
There we are. We're live. It
That's amazing.
is Wednesday. It's hump day. Super
Oh my
pumped.
gosh.
Welcome back to another episode of Go FUD Yourself. I'm still on the road, as you can tell. The background looks the same, but it's not
It's a
because
new
it's without enthusiasm. So if you're looking at the video from yesterday and you see enthusiasm, you can tell today that we're a lot less enthusiastic than we were yesterday, but excited about the news nonetheless. All right. What are we talking about today, my dear?
Well, today's Degen Day. So we've got a couple of founders and funders who are, let's say, shifting gears, moving around, trying new things. We're just going to touch on that really quick so that you are up to date with that news. And then we're going to talk about Avalanche Metaverse for a little bit and Neil Stephenson. So if you're a sci-fi guy, this will be your jam. We're going to move through some of the networks. We're also going to talk about Solana because they have banned UK. And we're going to talk a little bit about Flare and ETH and eventually Cosmos.
Whoop, whoop. We're going all over the place today.
Like
all right.
Arms race where we fly around the world, except we like
Fly
move
around
about the
outer
network.
L1s.
I don't know what verb to use here, but
flying. We can fly between
yeah,
networks, I think, maybe, or teleport. Maybe we can time
there's
travel.
A digital word we should use. I don't know what it is though.
Time travel.
So kind of
Anyways.
exciting Degen news day, and we're staying away from FTX and stuff. You'll hear about it on Friday. And on Friday we'll also do our Bitcoin episodes. So you'll hear about it every day.
Yeah, we're excited about Bitcoin. If you haven't noticed Bitcoin's excitement lately, you must be living under a rock. Quick reminder, we're a live show Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern on all the major venues. Help us get the word out. Like, share, subscribe. Evie, good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you're at right now.
We do this every day.
Every day, Monday to Friday. And a quick shout out to our friends at Tashi for the merch today. Wearing a hoodie, put it in the dryer and shrunk it. So Tashi, if you're watching, I need a new one because this actually doesn't cover my entire torso. So that's why
it's like a crop top.
Yeah, it's like neck up today for the pod. Yeah, it's kind of the same idea as I never wear pants, right? So now I have not only no pants, but also only a half shirt. So,
all right, let's fucking go.
Anyways, hold on.
I thought you'd be cute.
No, you're rushing me. I had so
much
excitement.
You were talking about your pants.
Yeah.
You are here for the news. Your pants aren't news.
It's a pants party. People care about my pants.
Oh, yeah. That one makes me so riled up. I love that one.
So wild up?
Riled up.
Oh, riled up. I was like, holy, you Canadian.
Oh, right. Do you know anything about this Ripple deal? Did you hear that Ripple was supposed to buy Fortress and then they didn't buy Fortress because they had to bail Fortress out?
Yeah. So I remember hearing about this when it happened. I actually thought that they just completely ended the acquisition entirely, which it sounds like that they maybe did, but they still have an investment in Fortress. Right. Anyways, what's the main topic here?
So the big deal here is that the CEO has actually exited, and people are a little bit concerned about this because Fortress is about compliant financial infrastructure within crypto. So I'm thinking that's kind of institutional, what have you. Sounds like they have a lot of funds. They lost a lot of customer funds, almost $15 million. And
they're a crypto custodian.
Okay. Yeah. Ripple covered that $15,000, but basically they were supposed to be
15 million.
So that's what I thought. That's what he said. $15 million. But basically Fortress was supposed to be sold and that was going to cover all of their kind of losses. And now suddenly the CEO is leaving. And then the dirt on the CEO has started coming up, which is that his previous companies have also all gone bankrupt. And he has in stealth mode started a new startup. So this is a little bit of a maybe DYOR and dig a little bit deep before you use a custodian or before you use any sort of platform.
Yeah, I think this is symptomatic, I think, of the lack of regulation and lack of oversight in the space. Although this was a regulated product, so there would have been a lot more transparency and public knowledge, I think, of founders and CEOs' past experience. I mean, it's not unheard of for many successful tech entrepreneurs to have a couple that didn't go that well. So that to me isn't necessarily alarming. If I see a founder that tried something and it didn't work, I'm not necessarily going to discount their next venture based on that alone. Having said that, when their next venture doesn't work, and we look back and start seeing, a fact pattern of multiple ventures having issues, then obviously that's part of, like you said, a DYOR. What's plaguing?
How many do you get? I guess.
How many what?
Like as an entrepreneur, how many bankruptcies are you allowed before it becomes like skeezy?
Well, ideally none. I mean,
okay, all right.
Hopefully you don't have any bankruptcies ever. I mean, it's really easy to say when you're not in that position. Well, fuck, you should never go bankrupt. You can always see it coming before it happens.
No, hindsight's.
I mean, in hindsight, of course, you can always see the inflection points, but like,
yeah, I get it.
Anyways, all of that to say, I think the space is growing up a little bit. We're being forced to grow up. Regulators are also influencing us growing up a little bit, and I think it's just a function of time. People are getting a little bit more experienced in how to start underwriting some of these projects. It's different than underwriting equity businesses, entirely different. They're all startups. They're all insanely speculative. Often it's founding teams that have never founded anything else. So it's just a totally different environment. I don't like to see this kind of thing because, again, this is another one of those like fairly high profile situations. Yeah. Oh, look, another crypto company has a CEO that's embroiled in some scandal now and all this other nonsense. And this is just the exact opposite PR of what we.
Well, this next one's a little bit nicer, maybe. Yeah. So another CEO who is being bumped from their position. I read a couple different articles about this, and they're kind of framing it as he is shifting gears. But Fred Ursam of Paradigm, I believe Paradigm is a funding company, right?
One of the largest VCs in the space, yep.
Yeah. And so whatever, Fred has decided to stop being managing partner and is moving into general partner so that he can focus on some of his own pieces. There's a lot of hypothesis about how this is related to FTX because they had a lot of money in FTX and maybe he's too close to them and maybe he's going to be on trial and so on and so forth. But also maybe he's just tired.
Yeah, I mean, Paradigm has been incredibly successful over the years. I don't think Fred or any of the other team, Matt, his other co-founder, I don't think any of them are concerned about money. So I think at this point, it's more about, where you can add the most value, where you have the greatest sense of purpose. So there's two ways to look at this. I sympathize, empathize, understand Fred's position in, he's been in that space of venture for a long freaking time. It's a grind. It's not easy. Venture is very difficult. So I can empathize with wanting to move on. He wants to, do a lot more research into biotech and a bunch of other things, which is really cool. So you can look at it that way, which is how I'm choosing to look at it. This is
also
exciting.
This is important to this.
Go ahead.
He has a good track record, right? Like he was part of the Coinbase founding team and what have you. So we also can DYOR here and say, oh, what is he going to do next and take interest in it?
Yeah, totally agree. And he's also been a great steward for the space. I mean, Fred's always kind of been a steady Eddie, solid supporter of blockchain, obviously. But I mean, he's done a lot for the space. Paradigm has been here since early days. So yeah, it's in a lot of ways when you see business go through these successions, if they can do it successfully, that's a very, very good sign. That's maturing of a business, being able to survive, the change of the guard, so to speak. But we'll have to see how it goes. Now, there's the conspiracy theory perspective on this that, like you said, is already all over Twitter saying, oh, they must be, he must be somehow tied into the FTX thing, yada, yada, blah, blah. Sure. That I suppose there's a chance of that. Pretty small, I would think. There's also another chance, and I've seen some of this on Twitter over the last little bit, that maybe Fred doesn't believe in crypto anymore. I don't know. I very, very highly doubt that. Considering he's still staying on as a general partner.
Right.
and will still be involved. You know, the difference between managing partner and general partner in many ways is regulatory, and just there's greater obligation if you're the MP rather than a GP. But it's not like he's taking off. It's not like he's divesting entirely. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I think I'm choosing to look at this as a very positive sign. Positive and meaningful succession of larger companies in an emerging market is a very good sign. So if that happens, and it happens successfully here at Paradigm, that'll be very good news, I think, for the space.
Heck yeah. Okay, are you ready for network news?
Network news. Are we talking about Neil?
Some other good positive news. If you like big names, is Neil Stephenson. Are you a Neil Stephenson reader?
No. Zero.
Oh, so Neil Stephenson is a famous sci-fi, you know, Snow Crash, Cryptonomicon.
Nope.
He's got a whole section at the bookstore. JD can't read. I don't know if you guys know that.
Audiobooks only.
Yeah, sorry everyone. These banners are actually just for practice. So Neil Stephenson is purported to have mentioned metaverse first in his books. This is supposedly he coined the term a very long time ago, probably in the early 90s, and people have been using it since then. Fantastic. I love that nerds are in the space and building real things. But turns out that he also has his own blockchain company called Lamina One, and they are trying to have an open metaverse partnership with Avalanche. So I don't know. I think this is kind of exciting. It also ties in a little bit to our next article, which is about Stars Arena, which is the social fi on Avalanche right now. And I don't know. I like the idea of someone who isn't Zuck trying to create a metaverse.
Yeah, I mean, so this is cool. I think now this isn't the same, but part of this to me kind of feels like Craig Wright-ish. Oh, but I said metaverse first. I own the metaverse.
Yeah.
Regardless, he did actually.
Okay, hold on. Neil Stephenson
he is not in 1996.
Like,
I know.
Neil Stephenson Snow Crash came out in 92.
I thought it was 96.
92.
Either way, it's a long freaking time ago. I don't think any of us were talking about the metaverse. So it very likely could be true. Point is, I struggle sometimes with some of these where I feel like they're trying to bite off too much at first. So as we saw with Facebook and Meta, $100 billion it took to get a really crappy version of Zuck in front of an Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
And then they've probably spent another amount fairly significant, similar to that, I would assume, to get it now to where you can have fairly realistic conversations. If you saw that Lex Friedman interview with Zuck, they were actually in the metaverse. That's not really them, which is kind of cool because it was hyper realistic. Anyways, all of that to say, I feel like they're biting off a lot. I mean, they're trying to do decentralized asset storage, world builder tools, a game engine, web SDKs, like multiplayer world servers. Like this is like,
they're not doing that tomorrow.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, like, to me, this just sounds like if somebody can pull it off, they probably can. He's got, name recognition, brand recognition.
But he has a test net with 50,000 people on it already.
Avalanche has done a lot of due diligence on this relationship. And so I also assign a lot of value to that. So I think there's a chance. I'm a little reluctant. If you haven't built in the space before and you're going to build something that is as big or bigger than anything else that exists.
Totally. I like this kind of thing because when Meta or Zuck or even Musk are doing anything, they're thinking about the bottom line. And I'm not saying that Neil Stephenson isn't a viable business partner, but as an author, he maybe has some other motivations.
Yeah. Well,
right. And I think that those types of motivations can really produce the buy-in that's needed for ecosystems like this.
And I just love personally unseating some incumbents. I mean,
absolutely.
I don't think that the only people that should be able to succeed because they already have deep pockets are either your social media and culture incumbents or even finance. Like, yes, they have somewhat of an advantage, and as they probably should. They've been around forever. They have money, but it shouldn't be super simple and shut out everybody else. And so seeing something like this, hopefully they get enough multiple rounds of funding to make this make sense, but we'll have to see.
Since you are always bullish on Avalanche but bearish on social fi, what do you think of Stars Arena?
It's not that I'm always bullish on Avalanche. I'm a fan of the way that Avalanche has gone about this, and which is very contrarian. Most people that you talk to, most venture capital groups that you talk to, are like, "Why Avalanche? It's not sexy. They don't bark very loud, but it's consistently and continuously growing in a meaningful way with meaningful partnerships." So I'm an Avalanche fan, but I'm not entirely blindly bullish. But Stars Arena has, again, is an iteration of Friendster, which is an iteration of BitClout.
Yes.
So anyways, this to me kind of feels like the Ohm. I don't know if you remember Ohm last cycle, where all of a sudden there was an Ohm, everybody made a bunch of money, and then there was like 10 billion forks that happened after, and each one of them was less and less successful, and then a bunch of rugs started coming in, and hacks and all this other stuff, because it was a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing. Anyways, I suspect the same thing is happening here, which is cool, because it usually signifies some sort of change in market sentiment and momentum, usually when you have this kind of thing happening. And this happened a lot in DeFi summer, which is cool. Yeah. Stars Arena, again, there was a hack on Stars Arena already. Every time that a fork is done of a fork, you compound the risk vectors. And so other people are forking Stars Arena now, which already has some issues relative to Friendster or Friendtech or whatever the fuck it's called. We've talked about it a lot, I should remember. But anyways, we'll see. I'm not a super huge fan of this, to be honest. Friendtech, yeah. I'm really not a super huge fan of all of these attempts at decentralized social, because I think there's a lot of nuance to how this has to be done. And for people to make a big, meaningful leap from one social platform to another, like, we're kind of maxed out. Like, if you've got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, like LinkedIn, Twitter, like we've already got a pile of socials, right? And then we saw like Rumble and some of these other ones come out that are trying to appeal to like political sides of the aisle, so to speak. I just don't think that there's space for more of something too similar. I think it's going to have to be significantly different, and offer some meaningful new value to the user to want to make a switch, I think. And so just saying, hey, it's a new social, but it's decentralized, to me isn't that exciting. I'm not sure that getting paid the way that these kind of schemes are paying you is going to be sticky enough or sustainable enough. It's not.
I don't know. People are loving it on Twitter.
People love it. But that's part of the gig, right? It's kind of like why people love every MLM ever on Twitter. Yeah. Because they're trying to recruit people below them, right? Because that's the only way that these parties keep going, is if a greater amount of people at a faster cadence keep coming in.
I like that Twitter is just a bro Tupperware party now.
Pretty much.
So we have CEOs who are kind of like shuffling around and maybe having new ventures. Avalanche seems to be growing with a lot of new ventures, but contrarily, on Solana, their primary dApps, Marinade and what's the other one, Orca, are shutting down UK operations. Maybe shutting down is too strong of a word. You can still do a few things like withdraw your liquidity, but they are worried about not being able to. Sorry, I need to turn my mic off for a second.
Don't be. He's exciting. He's excited. Yeah. So I guess I can jump in and talk about this, but this is, in my opinion, the first of very, very many of these happening. I mean, MiCA comes into effect in 24. So I think January 1st, we're going to see a whole bunch of announcements suggesting that people are now removing the UK persons from having access. The real question is, how are they actually going to verify this? Because, lost Kiara, but looks like it's just me. I can say whatever I want. Nobody can even argue. Anyways, I think we're going to see a lot more of this. It just makes sense. The challenge, or the thing that I'm interested to see how some of these ecosystems are going to deal with is KYC. How are you going to actually verify that you don't have UK persons using your application? And there is precedent now that suggests, at least in America, regulators will not accept IP blocks, especially if it's just a simple IP block. We've been doing that for years, but there is now precedent that the SEC says that's not enough. So Marinated Orca, as far as I understand, they're just IP blocking for now. There's a fairly easy way around that, which is why the SEC doesn't think that it's acceptable at the moment. But I think we're going to see a ton more of this. I mean, again, I've been saying this for a long time, and everybody looks at me like I have a third eye, and they still do. But there is no world without KYC. Even if you're an unregulated platform, you're still going to have to prove that you're not serving the people that should be that you would have to be regulated to serve. And so it'll be interesting to see how this evolves. I think there's some really cool vendors in the space now, much more than ever before in terms of having tooling for this and vendors for this. So we'll have to see. I think we're going to see this across the board.
I don't disagree with you. I know we're going to have KYC for everything, but people don't like it. It's against the ethos of what DeFi was supposed to be.
Yeah, but people don't like having a driver's license to drive a car. People don't like that the police can pull you over for speeding.
They hate wearing their seatbelts. Jeez.
Yeah, people don't like that you can't text and drive, that you can't steal, that you can't murder people if they're annoying. That's just not how civil society works.
That's why we work remotely, is because JD's a danger.
I don't. Yeah,
just going around pickpocketing our desks. And
if we're in one place, it's a big mess. People are like bleeding on the floor and shit goes missing. And it's just crazy.
Decentralized office.
Yeah, decentralized office. Anyways, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more of this. Obviously, whether we like it or not. I mean, regulation and rules. Generally, nobody likes paying taxes either. Nobody likes the IRS. Nobody likes new tax rules. It's a pain in the butt. It's more complex than ever before. But it's just how it is. There's nothing we can do about it. We want to live in a Western society, in an advanced society. There's rules. And so anyways, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I think we're updating terms of service on all of our applications. If it hasn't been published already, it will be in the next, not that long, to actually reflect something similar to Marinade and Orca for Banky and some of our other protocols. So
yep,
it's happening. It's coming whether we like it or not. So might as well get used to it.
Well, we have 3 good news items to maybe wrap up with all our sort of announcements. So Tokenum is a super cool new project that will be totally gasless while still working on ETH.
Yep.
Kind of cool.
I think
people are going to be stoked about that. I don't know. Sometimes people were like bragging about how much gas they had. It was almost like a rite of passage, how much they'd spent.
I prefer not to brag about it because it's ugly. But
was the site Gas Checker or something?
Yeah, I think gaschecker.xyz or something. I can't remember what it is anymore. But yeah, so they're not the first one to do gasless transactions. It started with an A. I can't remember what the ecosystem's called. It didn't obviously get very much traction, but I do remember. And there were some people that were pretty convinced that this was going to be the only way that you can have regulated products is if you abstracted or removed gas from the equation, because that was a challenge, at least from some people's perspective in the eyes of the regulators. I think it has since more or less been implied that you cannot do that. I don't think.
Well, the idea is it's supposed to make it more financially accessible, but I don't know how it will actually work. So if you do want to try it out, they have a campaign on Zealy.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see if it's supposed to make it easier. It's supposed to make it more streamlined. We talk about that a lot, right? Like gas is a complexity that a lot of people struggle with. Private keys and wallet, the wallet structures are something that a lot of people struggle with. So I don't think it's a horrible idea. I'm just not sure that it's enough. I'm not sure that it's enough of a difference that it's going to matter now, that we probably are going to see regulation taking gas into consideration. The thought that gas is going to be the problem from a regulatory standpoint, I think is misdirection, because that would imply that all of the ecosystems that currently exist aside from Tokenium are useless. That they're not going to do that. It's my opinion. But it is cool to see something new, and I do like actually the fact that it's gasless on ETH, because I think ETH is an expensive chain, even relative to others after many of the upgrades and proof of stake. So not as bad as it was before, but it's a heck of a lot it's a heck of a lot better now, but it's still one of the most expensive ecos. So this is cool. I think it's great to see new technology being developed. We'll have to see if they get as much traction as they're hoping. I like that it's making it in the news wires and we're talking about it, and it's from Tokyo.
Totally. And
there's a lot of
also in the gasless vein is EtherSpot on Flare. So they're doing something really similar. The announcements were on the same day. Not sure who planned that. Come on, guys. But they are looking at also doing social recovery, one-click multi-transaction, biometric authorization, and more flexible smart contract accounts. They want to look a little bit more Web 2 to see if they can onboard more people via EtherSpot onto Flare. That's kind of all very exciting, but they're also claiming gasless.
Yeah, I mean, fees on Flare are really cheap anyways. But you might be able to, it's not necessarily that it's going to be completely gasless. I think it means that it's not necessarily just Flare that can be used for gas. I think what they're doing is they'll accept other tokens. I'm not 100% certain of this, but my initial read on the whole thing was that they'll just simply accept other tokens. So you don't have to have Flare in your wallet, so to speak. You can probably pay your gas in whatever token you're transacting in. And then they convert it to I would assume they convert it to the native asset for the ecosystem to actually pay the gas, or they bulk transactions. I'm not sure exactly how they're doing it, but I think it's interesting. Flare, Hugo and team at Flare are good friends of ours. I think they're doing something very interesting. Flare has been under development for a long time. It originally started as an Avalanche fork, but they've done a ton of optimization from their perspective that is going to make onboarding users orders of magnitude less complex, which I'm a huge fan of. It's a very technically advanced chain, more technically advanced than I expected for a fork, because they've done a lot of novel stuff, while still being incredibly cheap, easy to deploy on, super functional. So I think it's good. I think things like EtherSpot, new ways of imagining how operations on chain work, opens the door to even more new ideas. So I think this is great. And we're going to Cosmos.
Yeah, you ready to move to Cosmos? DYDX is entering Cosmos from ETH. You can see our little ETH trail here. Maybe we use the ETH gas to do this trip. I don't know. I feel like there's a joke there.
Maybe.
No? DYDX is entering Cosmos, which is pretty exciting. And at the same time, they are making their code open source, which people in DeFi love.
Yeah. I mean, this has been in the works for a really, really long time. I mean, I think the announcement for DYDX launching on Cosmos was in 21.
That was a while ago.
That was a long time ago. So it's exciting to see that they're seeing it through. I know they've done a lot of work to governance. They've done a ton of work to figure out how to build validation and do all of these different things into the ecosystem. We've actually, Rome Blockchain has made a proposal to support them in some of that work in a few ways. But anyways, super exciting. I think we're going to see more of this optimized app-specific ecosystems that, again, allow different types of value accrual and security and operations and customization. There's just so many things you can do when you're an application on your own subnet. And now the infrastructure exists to connect those subnets or zones or parachains or whatever we call them in a very efficient way to other parachains, zones, subnets. And that makes this all possible. So it's super exciting. I think this is, even if we take the name DYDX out of the equation, it's just exciting to see a large brand transition as the space evolves, and doing it successfully. I think this is great. This is a very good sign for the space. Whether you like or don't like DYDX doesn't matter. I think it's just a good sign.
People not like DYDX? Are they jerks?
I don't think people don't like DYDX. I'm just saying.
I didn't know that. I didn't know there was negative sentiment.
Yeah, but
you're just creating fun for no reason, JD.
Never. I would never. But yeah, joking aside, I think it's very good. I'm excited about it. I think it's a good sign for the space. Again, we're making meaningful leaps in the direction of better user experience, more efficient technology, better interoperability, more customization, more value accrual. All of those things are very, very important to make sustainable, scalable technologies, which till now has been somewhat stunted. The economics of most of these platforms don't really make sense yet.
Absolutely.
They don't scale yet. But things like DYDX and what they're doing here, I think makes that more likely.
Also, bringing Bitcoin to Cosmos might help with that scale, especially with the current bull. So osmosis,
I think Timberlake should make a song about that, bringing Bitcoin back or something. But anyways, yeah. So this is
Osmosis, Nomic, and Kujira are bringing Bitcoin to Cosmos. I don't want to go too far into this because we're going to talk about it on Friday too.
Yeah, as far as I understood, they were actually Nomic was bringing. What was it? What did I read? I read about this before these articles came out, actually. I understood that they were supposed to be launching NBTC. Yeah, that's right. NBTC on its own Cosmos zone. So it's not just Kujira and Osmosis that have access. Right. Anybody that has IBC would have access.
Exciting.
So Evmos, Kava, Secret, yeah, other zones will all have access to those BTCs, which is exciting.
That's your Degen news. You got to travel all over the blockchain networks.
Was it fun? I felt like we put on some miles today. Anyways, it's Wednesday. We're a live show Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Please help us out. Get the word out there. Like, share, subscribe, do all that shit. Bookmark us on Twitter. We will be back tomorrow with Crypto Arms Race, which is Kiara's favorite day.
Arms Race.
And Friday will be FU Friday / Bitcoin Day. I have to throw in some FUs on Friday, whether we like it or not.
Oh, yeah.
Can't have a Friday without FU and Gensler. And with that, today I say to you, Kiara, go find yourself.
Go find yourself.
Later.